Welcome to Fintech Uncut, the quiz show with candid commentary on the biggest fintech and financial services news of the week that was. Disclaimer: this show is created purely for entertainment purposes and contains segments of sarcasm, satire, parody, and humor. Even if you don't think any of it is funny, the creators do not accept any responsibility or liability for the accuracy of any content shared and reminded you to always fact-check everything yourself. And now, it's over to your quiz master.
Oh, are we on already? One moment.
You look a bit cold there, Rick.
Welcome everyone at Fintech Uncut, the quiz show with candid commentary on the latest and the biggest fintech and financial services stories with the wise guy, the other guy, and Judge Mary. After organizing the banking scene's second Amsterdam conference this week, it's been a hectic start of the week. And with this show, I'm curious how more hectic the end will be after hosting this transcontinental fintech quiz. I am Rico Colbergs, your host of the day, eager to know who will win this week's quiz. Chris, wise guy Skinner from Europe, Andrew, the other guy Forster for a change from Asia, and then we have Judge Mary live from the States. Let's start with a very first question, and it's a tough one. When taking the parallel between building the car of tomorrow and the bank of tomorrow, which item is almost always forgotten with sometimes disastrous results?
I'm going to be first off the mark here, probably for the last time this show, but anyway, because this is an easy one. When you build stuff like cars, banks, you are not in control of where it goes. And that's the big thing that everybody forgets. Cars, you might be the builder, but it's the driver who takes it in the direction. Banks, you might build it, but actually it could be the idiots of social media that take it in a direction. Oh, sorry, I mean your shareholders and customers.
Well, I mean, I would never build a car with a bank design, because then the car would swerve all over the road, and depending on what's happening, it would suddenly accelerate or brake without any warning. You can't ever design a car based on a bank. In fact, it's funny, as we always talk about banks being stable and reliable, they're not. They're like a bull in a china shop. I want my car to be stable and reliable and do what I ask it to do and act like nothing like a bank.
I think I've got first-hand experience of the disastrous results because for the last 2 years, my car has repeatedly reminded me that it needs frequent intervention by a third party, a mechanic, to be able to fix it when it gets broken. And when it breaks down, it does get really, really expensive. And I need to have a massive chunk of money set aside to be able to fix it.
I can't agree with that car. Or with that story.
In fact, I wonder, as we always have to throw in Elon Musk, whether it's anything to do with Elon Musk's payment system on Twitter using cryptocurrency, because obviously that's going to have disastrous results.
Anything with Musk is going to have disastrous results.
Here's a hint, way more vanilla than that.
Come on, guys.
I was waiting for Chris to step in there, because I think it's got to do with my analogy of things needing you needing a big pot of cash to be able to bail things out. It's got to do with the banks not having a buffer, maybe a safety net, and what is the right amount of money to have as a safety net. I mean, this is more in your court there, Chris, in terms of knowing what the banks need and what kind of airbags maybe that they need.
You mean buffers and safety barriers, and it's all about a lot of discussion right now after Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, Silvergate, Capital and Credit Suisse. So many things going wrong in the system. Is there contagion? And a lot of questions being raised around in this interest rate rising environment, what actually is the right regulatory regime, and whether the banks have the right capital buffers to see themselves through the next year, which I'm guessing is, one of the big questions everybody is asking right now.
Absolutely. And when we all spoke about banking in the past couple of years, and the future of banking was all about digital experience, agile, customer experience, making sure that we have mobile banking, etc. But we often forgot the essence, which is risk management, the buffers. And when you talk about self-driving cars, we can assume that it will all go much better because the computer defines it, but you still need airbags just in case it doesn't. Alrighty, Mary.
Well, Andrew kind of handed the ball to Chris. So I'm still giving Andrew 5, but Chris won this round with 7.
Alrighty. Question number 2. And I hope I pronounced that name well. Dag Hammarskjöld, former Secretary of the United Nations, once said, "It is plain safe that we create a world of utmost insecurity." Which news item made me think back of that quote?
That's me. Is Dag Hammarskjöld Belgium?
What?
Everyone's face. Chris has shut down the Zoom.
It sounds Belgian, like Dag Hammarskjöld. It sounds like a Belgian name. No?
It sounds Danish.
Oh, okay. Isn't that the same thing?
I wish, but no. It would make Belgium much bigger than Poland.
Oh, well, let's not go there. I mean, I think it's interesting that obviously playing safe must be something to do with putting your money in the right sort of buckets. So is it to do with the United Nations has decided to invest all their money in Bitcoin? Actually, it's quite funny because the CEO of Credit Suisse, the bankrupt bank that's now UBS, Tidjane Thiam, who was CEO 6 years ago, said that Bitcoin was a bubble that would burst. And 6 years later, well, the Bitcoin guys are laughing and he's not, just mentioning it. C'est la vie.
C'est la vie indeed. But the news item was not linked to the United Nations itself. But indeed, I read that news item as well.
Well, there were lots of news items around the tens of thousands of jobs that are going to be cut in the wake of the banking carnage that's been on. I know that's not funny, but it is a point there of the banks are playing it safe by reducing their expenses, getting ahead of the perhaps closer scrutiny. They've got to wind back some stuff. They've been overhiring, maybe it's been good times, but by them now playing it safe, they're actually even spreading the uncertainty because people are going, oh, is this going to be the next bank that's going to fail? Oh, look at that one. They've just announced a cut of 10,000 jobs. Oh, look at that one. And I think that there is this issue of if you get up and say publicly, oh, don't worry, be calm and carry on, that's when people start to panic.
Well, and there's a need to say stay calm instead of just staying calm.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the right answer, wasn't it, Judge Mary?
Well, no. And yes, right?
Then we keep quizzing.
I was going to give a point to Andrew, a bonus point for that one, because we're like exploring it, but we're not quite there.
It must be to do with the whole debacle of the weekend of Credit Suisse. After saying there were material misleadings in their accounts, declaring that for 3 years they've misreported their results, and being bailed out by UBS, which UBS paid just over 3 billion euros to buy them, which actually is more expensive than the Silicon Valley Bank, which HSBC paid £1 for. But at the same time, it does amaze me when you look at the share price of some of the European banks, like Deutsche Bank was trading at 92 euros a share in 2007, and has just plummeted to just over $8 a share today.
Mm.
That says the banking sector in the last 15 years has actually gone through a serious questioning around how trustworthy and reliable and safe they are. So it's really to do, going back to the first question, with all this, the safety buffers in the banking system have collapsed.
I have the impression, Mary, that Chris this week is not so much a wise guy, but a smart guy.
I know, he's throwing down stats and everything.
Yeah.
And I want to really underscore his point about trust. I feel like that is like such a big question mark for like banks across the country right now. And
Across the world.
Of the world, yeah.
Chris, I think, and apologies because I'm still trying to catch up on news after traveling for the last 2 days non-stop. But I think you did reference a couple of things in your articles on the Financer to do with this whole deal that was brokered between UBS and Credit Suisse. The government sort of changed the rules of the game after the game had started. And there's been wider impact that has really shaken people's trust in the banking system because of the ease at which they've completely disregarded certain categories of bonds, wiped out millions of worth of another category of people, and completely disregarded what everybody had trusted as the Swiss banking system. You had made a few comments about this, hadn't you? And pulled up a few resources on that.
And do you know by any chance if the Pope still trusts the Swiss?
I don't know.
Because they have the Swiss guards. Are they still trustworthy?
Depends if you're the Pope. But I mean, the two big questions raised by what happened with Credit Suisse and UBS is, firstly, that the shareholders and investors had no vote, and it was just a done deal by the government between the two institutions, which a lot of key stakeholders like BlackRock have objected against. And the second is the questions around what it means around additional tier one capital bonds, which are called AT1s for short. And these are bank debts that are meant to be secure. And Credit Suisse's sort of meltdown calls all of that into question.
All right, points.
Points.
Chris won this round again, 8. Andrew, I was giving you 5, but you got that bonus point, so 6. Chris is leading round 1 category.
Yeah. Question number 3. Which baby seems the White House be throwing away with the bathwater?
I don't know if he's a baby, but he's probably crying like one. They seem to be throwing Donald Trump out with the bathwater, under the bus, whatever you want to call it. Has he been arrested yet?
No, but he can be a baby sometimes.
Or a lot, or almost always.
Wasn't it Nelly the elephant who went Trump, Trump, Trump? Anyway. Are you sure this isn't Elon Musk again?
I knew it.
I know I have to keep raising him, but he did reply to Joe Biden this week that the banks are melting on Twitter, and it was about the White House producing a document for economic reforms, which was everything to do with everything, including cryptocurrencies. And I'm guessing Elon Musk didn't appreciate the documents. Mary, did you see this document? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. So you're poking right at the truth. So it's the economic report that like really slammed crypto, right? So Chris, defend it if you want.
I think it's interesting that Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies prices have actually risen this week with the news of Silicon Valley Bank and Credit Suisse and the other banks melting. And so if the banks are melting, then crypto goes up. It's really down to who and what can you trust. And if you can't trust the system, then you've got to trust some other system.
Mm.
But does crypto, and this would probably need a show all by itself, Chris, because people
We'd love
say,
to, Andrew, but you don't have any time.
yeah, trust the crypto. But actually, we've seen runs on cryptocurrencies before, and those wiped out over a contagion. So, you know, that's the thing. You want to act like money, you want to be like money. Yeah, you're also going to suffer the same pitfalls as money. Just something to put out there. But yeah, it was. You were saying it was about this report.
Yep.
But it also worries me in that when you think about babies in the bathwater, the babies in our ecosystem are the startup companies and the startup fintechs in particular. And so we don't want to strangle our babies, do we? We want to give them the ability to grow and support them. And
I learn from mistakes.
Yeah, and I think the key thing there is, particularly after Silicon Valley Bank's meltdown, that, particularly because of Silicon Valley Bank, who are a huge supporter of, the Y Combinator and the startup community, that we need to bring that enthusiasm back and not let it disappear.
Mm-hmm.
No points for anybody, just the blank like stare for a little bit. No, Chris has 6 points this round. Andrew has 5 points this round.
Alrighty. Question number 4. One article got my attention and it made me sing. 'Cause I'm a cowboy on the Steelers I ride. I wondered, dead or alive. 'Cause I'm a cowboy. I got a knife on my side. I wondered, dead or alive.
Somebody's been practicing.
Not much though. What am I talking about?
Or blank stares.
I'm going to take it because, Rick, don't try and do Bon Jovi. He's way above you. I think you should actually been doing.
I know, but I do think it's better than my previous performances.
I think you should have done Living on a Prayer, because most banks are living on a prayer right now, and so maybe we're going to dive into the pit of another global financial crisis. But I actually don't think we are.
Me neither.
Having said that, every bank issue out there is different. Silicon Valley Bank was due to bad management over investments and interest rates. Signature Bank was being exposed heavily to cryptocurrencies. Credit Suisse was over mismanagement of their balance sheet. So next time, I think we should be doing something like Under Pressure, which, funnily enough, is
pretty sure I can sing that very well.
Under Pressure. I can do that.
Sure.
Because that's you may not know this, but that was Bill Gates' #1 song on Desert Island Discs when he appeared on the BBC show. And so Bill Gates, Under Pressure, the banking system under pressure, and Rick, Under Pressure.
I'm going to always think of banks when I hear that song now, and I don't know how I feel about that. but the seed has been planted.
Ruined a good song for all of us.
But let's stick to the cowboy, and especially Dead or Alive.
Well, Dead or Alive, is that relating to Trump's friend Putin?
No.
Haven't they announced an international police force thing for him as well? They want to capture him. So Trump's being arrested, Putin's being, they've got a warrant out for his arrest, the International Cop Force, something like that.
I think that's only alive, not Dead or Alive.
Ah, okay.
I actually wore a T-shirt on Fintech Uncut, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, so it would have been number 14, which was Schrodinger's cat wanted dead or alive. This week I'm wearing the Chris Army, by the way, just in case you wondered. But Schrodinger's cat is the basics of quantum computing, which is you put a cat in a box with a radioactive material that might be released, and you don't know therefore whether the cat's dead or alive. And I did blog about it this week saying, is the banking system Schrodinger's cat?
It really, really confused me. I read it 3 times and I still can't figure out. I mean, it's dead or it's alive, but it can't be both.
Well,
I don't get it.
It can be. It could be dead 1 minute. It could be alive the next. You just don't know.
Right, but it can't be both. I mean,
my head. If you look at Andrew, I mean, like he looks pretty dead.
Right.
But he's alive. Look, he's nodding.
But he's not dead. He just pretends to be.
I could be an avatar for all you know. I live in the metaverse.
I'm having deeply uncomfortable feelings right now.
I'm going to upload my whole
fine.
personality to the metaverse, and therefore, when I do disappear, I'll still be here.
You're watching way too much Black Mirror there, my friend. But yeah, that was the article I was referring to. Very confusing.
All right. Well, Chris had like an advantage here, clearly, but he still got the right answer. So
Andrew. Wait, Andrew would like to add something.
I'm going to apply for a bonus point. Did you all know that Elon Musk has a cat named Schrodinger, and he had tweeted a meme about it a while ago?
Ah,
There
by
we
the way,
go.
Andrew, I'm going to tell you a little mathematical secret. Usually, Mary gives 2 points difference, so you should apply for minimum 3 bonus points to win.
Well, now I'm going to shake up my rhythm, but you know what? I'm giving you that bonus point. So 5-5. Chris is still very much in the lead, but redemption.
Alrighty.
That's another song.
We're gonna go to the WTF round, and for the people that watch or listen to this show with children, please close their ears because this is a great WTF round. First question. Another big loss in the blockchain industry, likely more for its name than for the volumes it processed. Can you guess the name of this company? Probably the funniest I ever heard.
That was me, because I think it's the Jesus chain.
It's funnier.
Well, the Jesus chain is good for all the Catholics out there using the blockchain to create a Jesus coin. And if you hadn't heard of it, there actually was a Jesus coin. I don't think it's still around, but when they published their white paper, the Jesus coin has been developed as the currency of God's Son. And unlike morally bereft cryptocurrencies, Jesus coin has a unique advantage of providing global access to Jesus that's safer and faster than ever before, all day, every day.
And they wrote all that in the white Bible.
Exactly. And
you get a bonus point for that one. Point 1.
I have to say, I didn't invest in it, but I did take note.
Don't worry, I'm sure you've still got time in the afterlife, Chris.
Well, when I upload my spirit into the metaverse, maybe I'll be trading with you in Jesus coins.
Only if it's in the Catholic metaverse, though. You can't upload yourself into
I've
any of
also
the
got
other
Mohammed
metaverse.
coins and others, but I'm not going to go there because I'll probably get blown up in flames now.
As you were talking about strange blockchain companies, you know, there was a coin called the Omicron cryptocurrency, and it existed before the COVID variant, and they actually blew up in terms of people's attention when the Omicron COVID variant came out, because people were Googling Omicron and it was coming up with cryptocurrency. So that was a funny one.
Yeah, but not that funny.
No, right, but I'm giving you a bonus point too. I like these little facts on the side, so bonus point for each of you. Still wrong, though. Still wrong. Still definitely.
Mary, perhaps we can give them a tip.
All right. What tip do you want to give? That's my
tip. That one.
Well,
it's a kinky company.
I think that Chris is going to double down on this round because I happen to know that he's always talking about OnlyFans. So he has a number of side hustles, and I'm sure that he's used Spanky Pay before.
That is true, Andrew, but you're in Thailand right now.
Spanky on the Spank chain.
Ah!
Now that's interesting because there is actually a Spank chain, which is a blockchain for the adult industry of porn. And they've launched a thing called Spank Pay, I believe, which is based on...
You've tried it out already, haven't you, Chris?
Well, I try everything because you only get innovation and progress if there's pornography and crime. And so, you know... and
no disagreement from me there.
Well, primarily porn makes the whole world go round. So I'm not going to go into details because Mary's here and I'm too much of a gentleman to explain. All
right, negative your bonus point for that lie.
After episode 17, we do know that, Chris.
But yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting in that as we see progress on blockchain, Spank Chain and Spank Pay is an interesting variant, which a bit like the Jesus coin. I don't believe in either, to be honest.
Wow. Okay. That was
Yeah, and it didn't succeed. It didn't stay very long because apparently operating Spank Pay in a hostile banking environment has always been challenging.
to put
Yeah,
it
but
mildly.
I thought it was
Time do you
interesting
think?
also that Spank Pay, was upset about the fact that they were discriminated against due to the nature of their business. Which, to be honest, the nature of their business is the nature of what everything to do with money and progress and innovation is all about.
Yep.
But like, how much time do you think they put into naming their company? Like, that's
I
what
don't know. I mean, maybe they got it off Madonna, but there's a fascinating book which I think is called The Erotic Engine, which does list all of the innovations in technology over the past 200 years were all driven by sex, basically. Like the camera, the movie industry, the video industry, the internet. It's all been driven by the fact that people want to get access to dirty films.
I like your passion for that, Chris, but it doesn't answer Mary's question. She just asked, how long did it take to invent the name? And I would say
I'm just going
a
down
beer
the
of
rabbit
three.
hole.
beer of three. Rick, always here for the right answer. All right, points. Chris 5, Andrew 2. Chris is very much in the lead, but you never know what could happen with this final question.
Well, it is very much the same direction, so I bet Chris is gonna win this one. Don't we all do it when going on a city trip? And probably Andrew can approve as he's on a trip himself. We read the history of the place, and we look at the urban legends, etc. Now, apparently, the metaverse has matured to the level where they have exactly the same thing. What am I talking about?
I think that it's the fact that the metaverse in years to come is just going to be an urban legend, a myth, because we know Zuckerberg's pulled out all of his funding, his $1 billion a month funding into all of his research. So the metaverse is going to go the same direction as Second Life and all of those. It's just going to be an urban myth in a couple of years. People are going to go, oh, remember that meta thing? What was it called?
I think you heard my presentation at Finovate, Andrew, and that's exactly what I was saying, which is, Zuckerberg's invested $24 billion losses over the last 2 years in building their version of the metaverse, and it's not taken off. Having said that, one day something will, and it's just when's the right timing. And when we mentioned Second Life, I mean, it's funny because Meta and what Zuckerberg's done was very similar to Second Life. It was quite sort of basic, but the lesson that I learned in Second Life, which I shared at Finovate, is that you will need banking in the metaverse, but if you're going to be a bank in the metaverse, you've got to be a bank in real life. Otherwise, where's your protection? Where's the sort of regulation? Where's the oversight of your money? Which is one of the big questions. And I'm guessing in the metaverse, if you want to know more, check out metaverse-bank and metaverse-coin.com. You may find it leads to someone interesting called Chris Skinner.
Interesting aside, but we're definitely wrong. Andrew, yes.
So I was going to say, do you think that if you've got to be a bank in real life to be a bank in the metaverse, do you need to be a property company in real life to be a property company in the metaverse? Maybe.
No,
So,
I mean, the main reason why you've got to be a bank in real life came out of the Second Life experience, which was when people lost their money in Second Life because the bank collapsed, Ginkgo Bank, which is one of the biggest. They said, well, how do we get our money back? And the guys who operated the platform, Linden Labs, just said, no idea. And after 3 months of demonstrations, the answer was, if you're going to be a bank in the virtual world, you've got to be a bank in the real world. So you've got some comeback. And that's why I've always said that you can't have money without government, which is something that cryptocurrency people hate me saying. But I never say who the government is. So it doesn't mean the government is the Federal Reserve or the Bank of England, but you have to have a governance over the financial system in whatever form it is. It could be the governance of the network of citizens of the world. I don't care, but there has to be something that's the comeback.
And that idea of governance gets us already a bit closer to the story that I'm referring to.
Oh, you were referring to a story?
Yeah, that's the essence of this quiz.
I think it's a story. I think it's a story that you're probably a part of, Chris, seeing that you like to explore, shall I say, the more shady areas on the fringes of life and things like that. And
that Andrew is exploring right now.
Oh, that would be. I'm here with my wife and daughter. Don't forget. So, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, Rick told me that you're in tied up land.
I think that that the story that Rick is referring to is the whole problem around this red light district in Decentraland that was set up when Decentraland was set up, and how they were going to be using it in the metaverse to protect minors from tripping over adult age-appropriate or non-age appropriate content and things like this, and how with the lack of governance and everything that you've just spoken about, absolutely sod all has happened, and the land value has disappeared. Land, I say land, using that in the loosest possible term, and this whole concept of a red light district in that people have realized, well, it's the metaverse. Hang on a minute, the concepts aren't exactly the same. So did you have some land there to set out your OnlyFans stall in Decentraland, Chris?
No, I mean, I've tried Decentraland. I wasn't that impressed. And although they've got thousands of pockets of land, including a huge area that was reserved for a red light district, only 2 pockets of the land in that area were actually acquired. And it kind of just shows again that the metaverse has got a long way to go before it becomes successful.
Do you know whether they accepted SpankPay there? Serious question, Andrew.
Well, I was trying to pay in Jesus coins. For some reason, they didn't appreciate that.
That would be an interesting move. All right, points. Andrew led us to the right answer first. 7. Chris for testing it. 6. Chris is still by far the winner of this particular episode.
Congratulations, Chris. Congratulations. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching our show. I cannot wait for more international fintech news coming soon. It's a bit later than usual. We have a few weeks of a break, but we'll be back sooner than you think. If you like our show, make sure you register on our website for the newsletter to be the first to know about new episodes. If you're a big fan and you like a thing like this, make sure that you have a look at the merchandise on that same website. Don't forget to subscribe on whatever channel you're on. This was the 17th episode of Fintech Uncut, and we hope to entertain you, your colleagues, your friends, your connections, and followers, your cats, your rabbits, your dogs very soon again. Bye-bye.